Okay, for those of you watching, we just finished a rosary. I think I finished it on my own because the meeting went out, but we are live, and I just gotta get our co-host Ryan Hamilton in here. So let me just make sure that that's working out. Grateful for everyone's patience. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're live here doing a conversation about the recent tragedy, the killing of George Floyd, and how it's affecting our community. Just waiting on my co-host Ryan Hamilton. He should be showing up here soon. We just finished a rosary that we prayed together, and hopefully having a good conversation about how we can have some healing in our community. Please enter your questions, comments, things that you think we should address. Go ahead and enter them on the Facebook comment section, and also on YouTube. You can just enter them there. We have Nicole Mamura, who's checking and making sure that we can have all these comments addressed and whatnot. So. Oh, let me see here. So just as we wait a little bit for Ryan here, I think that I just want to talk about a little bit how this conversation came up. You know, the Catholic Church has really a duty, a moral duty to give a response and to have we have a duty as Catholics to discuss how these things affect our community. And so I thought, boy, you know, how can we best do this in a way that's fitting and purposeful? And I thought I'd reach out to Ryan. He's someone who really would know these things. A bit about Ryan: he's lived in Minnesota since 2008. He's originally from the South, though. He grew up in South Carolina before going to college at Wake Forest and then Tulane Law School in New Orleans. He's also a lifelong Catholic, but as he described it, he had an Augustine phase and had a powerful rediscovery of his faith in 2010. Oh, here he is. I'm going to admit him. Oh, make sure I get these on.
Yeah.
There he is.
I'm on another one, so.
Ryan, we're live.
All right. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, excellent. So I was just introducing you.
Okay, wonderful.
So Ryan, we're glad to have you here with us. He went through a kind of Augustine phase. He says that he had a powerful rediscovery of his faith in 2010 at the age of 30. He's worked in the legislative branch in Washington, D.C. as a lobbyist there. And he was a lobbyist here in St. Paul and currently works for the University of Minnesota on sort of the business side of things. Ryan's a husband and father. He and his wife, Melissa, have been married since 2014, and they have two kids, Augustin and Sophia Elise. They live in North Minneapolis. Ryan, great to have you here joining us. Thanks for that.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, well, what can I say? 10 days ago, an unarmed man, George Floyd, was killed by a Minneapolis police officer while 3 others looked on, ignoring his pleas for help. And I just wanted to really get together with you, Ryan, and just kind of let you talk. I mean, I guess I just right from the get-go, what are your thoughts? What do you have to say as a Catholic, as a father, as a lawyer, as a citizen here in our community?
Yeah, I'll do citizen, lawyer, father, Minnesotan, American first. So
Sure.
unfortunately, when I saw apparently it happened Sunday night, but the news broke on Monday, Labor Day. Or I'm sorry, was that Memorial Day? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
The holiday. I guess that's Memorial on Monday. So I see this black man, South Minneapolis, killed by cops. I wasn't really taken aback, you know. I mean, maybe it's the lawyer in me. It wasn't instant outrage or anything, or fear or anything like that. It was, okay, what are the facts? What happened? Oh, roll my eyes. What happened this time? Because quite frankly, I'm so desensitized to these events at this point, just through who I follow through social media and friends and communities I'm involved in. I get clips about these things here and there relatively uncomfortably frequently.
Sure.
Oh, it was just a matter of how bad is this one, or what were the circumstances, or this, that, and the other. The Philando Castile incident, for as big as that was here, I got a Facebook message the other day from my friends in South Carolina. Hey, did you know about this one that happened up there? I was like, dude, I thought everybody knew about that one, So when Mr. Floyd was killed, again, it was just another one that to look out for and to kind of track and see what happens. I had no idea it would become what it has become as we sit here today.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the outrage, if you will, people all over the world are stressing, insisting, just crying out that hate, the hatred of racism, brutality of law enforcement, that all of these things are these injustices are being ignored by too many,
Sure.
And that they persist in our society, and the powers that be are ignoring them. I think that's why it's important. That's why we talked about this when we were preparing. That's why we want to do this. And I think especially just to kind of get your sense, we want to just be able to listen. What does it mean to the Black community? All of this, what is it?
Yeah.
Why is
it? It's a lot. It's a lot, man. So I'm just trying to figure out how to piece it together.
Sure. Well, maybe I could say this. So this just kind of give you some thoughts. I had heard, this is from Van Jones. He's a political commentator. He said this.
Yeah,
I wonder
I
know wonder what you think of this. He says, part of being a democratic, multiracial, multicultural, multi-faith democracy is that we have to work to learn about each other. And if you are in the majority, you have to do more work to learn the experience, the history of the minority. That's the price of being a good citizen, he says, in a multiracial democracy.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, we are one of the few in the history of the world, a multi-ethnic, multicultural society. And he says it takes work, and all that work shouldn't be on my shoulders. He's saying, as a Black man, that he's
let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Is that necessarily true? Are we the first multi-ethnic, multiracial society? I mean, what was ancient Rome? You had the race as a construct. You and I talked about this as we were preparing. So in terms of the modern constructs of race, yes. But I think if we look back at, the ancient great civilizations, even Egypt, I'm sure that in terms of the physical skin color of the people, I think it probably ran the gamut, and then there's Asians and so Africans and Europeans. So we're not the first. And maybe the first in this modern construct, but I think as we move into the Catholic element of this, those are the constructs that we need to start to examine.
Sure. So it sounds like, I bring that quote up because it was similar to a quote I grabbed from Lizzo, who was just basically saying, I'm tired. We're all so tired of having to explain this.
And so now I'll shift back. I'll keep transferring my hats. So I'll go into lawyer mode. So I worked at the legislature. I understand these systems. So America is just it's kind of a big corporation. Kind of look, it's a nation of systems, a nation of laws, right? And one could argue, especially from a minority perspective, that the systems have been constructed for the comfort of the majority. And they've been constructed in limited resource or scarcity mentality, right? Which means there'll be some who have, but that must come at the expense of others. You know, like literal slavery. Like we need free labor. So it's those systems that minorities have had to live under for our whole lives. So that's the cultural component of all this, and the weariness of, hey, the creed of this nation is equality, but there's all these other underlying systems that don't bear out equality.
Right. Underlying systems. I think that kind of connects to what you're saying about Rome, like underlying systems that were created or developed or whatever afterwards. You know,
and just to jump to the cultural component, like I'm hearing like, wait, what do y'all people want? We want an end to the hypocrisy. We want what was promised in terms of, okay, you folks were given your freedom, or immigrants were allowed to come in, but we want the same benefit of the doubt, you know, of the unwritten rules that some people get, and we want the actual written constitutional system, you know, the written black letter rules to be enforced fairly. We just want what everybody else wants, which is a fair shot. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That's it, you know. But even those, as simple as that may sound, it's been denied for far too many, and I think that's why you're seeing the outrage.
Right. You mentioned, I just wanted to mention this before we will start taking questions here and comments from some of the people who are watching. You brought up, you know, ancient Rome, or, you know, basically sort of a time and a perception before the United States. And I always like to tell Catholics about that image that Michelangelo painted, the Last Judgment, where there's an image of this is right hundreds of years before the Civil Rights Movement. There's an image of an African man and a European man both hugging and being pulled up into heaven by rosary beads, you know, so that this sense of a universality and what Catholicism, small c, means, that we, right, the for everyone, for the faith for all, right? But that mentality, a Catholic mentality, is one that that sort of transcends these systems that are in place that I think you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'll take we'll get some comments here. So I got here from Kat. She's wondering and thinking about how best to build the bridge of what are viewed as differences we need to listen to each other and to honestly be open but respectful with one another.
Yeah, that's so yeah. I think I need to tee some things up first. First, let's try to the extent that we can, without being disingenuous, let's try to take race out of it. You know, I feel like I'm talking to a Christian and a Catholic audience, so I'm really here to speak on a spiritual level. You know, because I think this is the racial issues that are facing America. What happened to Mr. Floyd was evil. You know, so I think we're dealing with spiritual sickness, right? Mm-hmm. So let's kind of shift our conversation on how do we help as people of faith and people of spirit. How do we operate in this world to help heal the spiritual sickness, which I feel is just festering because it's going unchecked. So, you know, so I'm really here just to kind of inspire people to put on their armor and realize that we're in a spiritual war here, folks. To me, it's clear just when acts of evil are being wrought, and now in broad daylight, you know. So in terms of to answer the question, that's very interpersonal. So if you're willing to engage in this, I think we got to start by feeding our spirits, right? And it's the old airplane analogy, or the old before the mask, you know, when the mask drop in the airplane, before you try to help somebody else, please put your mask on. Otherwise, we have two people suffering. So, you know, I've been asked by a lot of friends, like, what do I do, Ryan? How do I help? Don't ask me. Pray. It's spiritual sickness. So we have the healer. Ask the healer. Ryan's not the healer. Your black friends aren't the healer. The media, whoever, any do-gooders aren't the healers. As people of faith, we have knowledge of the healer. So go ask, seek your spirit. Go ask Jesus or God, whatever, I think we have a broad audience. So go there first, and that will inform you about how so then your spirit's whole. Then you can have a conversation with the level of patience, that it's going to be hard. This is going to be difficult, awkward conversations. Your spirit needs to be full before you engage in something like that.
Right. Like we have to be ready and willing to have the difficult, like you say, awkward conversations. We have to just kind of jump right into it. Yeah. I mean,
my opinion, that only comes from having your spirit muscle strong, and your armor of God on.
Right. There was no one better than Jesus who understood how to just have a good, direct, honest conversation. It wasn't comfortable.
Because again, there you go.
Yeah.
He had no agenda, and he wasn't looking for a quick fix. That's the other thing that I want to tee up.
Right. Well, his agenda was himself, to love him. Right.
Exactly. And if folks' agenda is just to get back to the comfort, like, well, we just got to settle this real quick so we can get back to being comfortable, then I don't know.
Right. Well, I think if I could say, like, part of what's uncomfortable is that what's sort of portrayed in the common narrative is that a black person's experience is the same. Like every black, and if you're not black, you don't understand what their experience is. But even just hearing you and listening to you here, it seems like you have different, I mean, you share in the fundamental understanding that something is wrong here. But it seems like even when I brought up, different quotes from Lizzo and I'm trying
to move to better light, by the way. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. Are you hearing what I'm saying though?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening to you. Yeah.
So anyway, all that to say, like, do you think that as a black Catholic, are you on the same page, sort of ideologically with Al Sharpton, who's here today? And
I thought I've been watching Reverend Sharpton for a while and critiquing him, and I'm not coming at the answer is no. I'm not approaching this politically at all. I've always identified as a Catholic, and that's just my unique upbringing. I grew up in the South. I went to Catholic school, and throughout that experience, I was generally one or three African-American or children of color in my class. I lived in the suburbs, very few African-Americans or people of color out there. So, I mean, the identity struggles, but you know what? My mom brought me to mass every Sunday, from, so that was really, I embraced it as my identity. I began leading life with my faith. So as I enter spaces, I'm entering as a Catholic, and as a Catholic boy, as a Catholic young man, as a Catholic man now.
Right.
And I've always taken great refuge in the church, because, anytime I'm in mass, it's just, I can take off the defenses I have to put up in society to try to survive and get by, I can just be myself, and I feel like I'm looked upon as a man and as a human, and as a brother, and, one thing, I've been a Eucharistic minister, and just to jump forward to kind of, well, what can we do? I think everybody should be a Eucharistic minister at least once. Like, you might not have to sign up, for a perpetual commitment, but just for one mass, deliver the Eucharist. Because I took way more from that than what I give to the church by doing that, because I've done it at the Basilica, right? It's a huge church. To hold the host up and say the body of Christ in front of 100 other human beings, tall, short, dark, light, some disabled. The first couple times I hit that, saying the body of Christ, it hit me. These people are the body of Christ.
Right.
And these are my people,
Yeah, I think similarly, what I do is if I sit in the front, I'll watch people receiving and be praying for them. They probably are all creeped out by me watching them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly right. That that must be profound to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Especially for a priest.
Yeah, I'm not on here to ask anybody to make any kind of political movements or advocate for any of those. I'm really here. If I'm appealing to anything, I hope that I'm appealing to my Catholic brothers and sisters that, hey, your brother over here in faith has noticed something going on, in the city of Jerusalem, so to speak, and can you come into the city with me and engage
and help, right? Yeah,
in the spiritual fight in your own ways.
Right. I got a question from Monica. What do you think should be our priorities at church and the government to address this? I mean, you just said you don't want to be political, but I mean, have at it if you just say what you want.
The priorities at church. I think the invitation that I really want to hit home is I'm inviting people to lead with their faith in terms of their identity. Like, that's one of the things about politically, so it touches on politics. Politics puts everybody in a box, right? Democrat, Republican, gender demographic, racial demographic, they put everybody in a box to try to either unite people, divide them. It's a chess. They put us all in this literal chessboard as boxes. They make chess pieces out of us and move us around, right?
Right.
Throw that out, please. Lead with your faith first. And what I mean by that is, don't just show up to mass. And that's my Augustine experience. For 30 years, I hardly missed a mass, but I'm not the man I am spiritually and mentally, emotionally now. It's when I actually started taking it seriously in terms of what I was hearing, in terms of what's being read in these first and second reading.
Right.
What example is Jesus setting in this gospel? How do I apply those things to the spiritual battle? Our kingdom is not of this world, right? So why give to Caesar what is Caesar's? All those things, right? Lead with your faith first. Meditate, pray, and then each one of us has our own answer and job to do. I can't tell you what to do, but I'm just reminding folks where to go find it. That you have the answers, the playbook every weekend on Sunday, right. The answers. Hope that answers the question.
No, that's good. That's good.
I mean, technically from politics, just don't believe everything a politician, or how about this? So this next cycle of votes, go back and look at people's voting records. Have they lived up to the promises they made the last time they were running? It's very, very simple. There's no particular party. And again, if you detach yourself from the worldly labels they put on us, sometimes you might have to vote Republican. Sometimes you have to vote Democrat. It depends on what that individual, their record or what they're promising or their historical record. I think that's a lot of the historical problems, at least in Minnesota, is that, these certain crowds have been voting for Democrat just blindly without any results. And a lot has been swept under the rug because there's no...
Well, yeah, and the church is clear, but the church has been clear, like, one of the issues facing the Black community that's largely, ignored is the high abortion rates, right? Which the Democratic Party has really jumped on board with. So, yeah, well, I mean, you make a point. There was a whole time when Catholics were sort of expected to vote Democrat. I mean, there's a lot there. I think you've been saying this the whole time, though. It's like, be a faithful Catholic, be holy,
first, and then seek ye first, and all this other stuff.
All the stuff will follow. Yeah,
you'll find your answers to what's going on in Rome and
right.
But
Ryan, I'm getting a lot of comments. Oh, go ahead.
This is never supposed to be our kingdom. This was never supposed to be comfortable.
Right. We can't perfect it here. Right. No, that's right. Okay. Let's see what I got here. We got Erica. She says, how can we continue this conversation in our parishes and push our pastors to continue the conversation?
That's a great question.
I know you're at Lourdes. I mean, I'll tell you what, Father Dan Griffith is not afraid of these. He's not afraid of these conversations.
So either approach your parish leadership about starting a small group. I know Basilica had Voices of Justice, but nobody showed up. It was the same people showing up. So you can start one at your parish, just a weekly meeting, just a weekly talk about about the issues, or find a parish that is willing to engage and go there. Yeah, just make the calls and ask the questions.
Right. I got another question from Chad. He says, issues of civil rights are inherently a political issue, but it seems it's being highly politicized issue by folks in both parties. How would you advise a Catholic to push that away and approach racism as an inherent evil?
I think, so I think we have to do that on an individual, interpersonal basis. So, yeah, that's the only answer that's coming to me for that one.
Yeah, sure.
Just as you have conversations. Well, how about this? When you're out, hopefully we'll be able to do some type of socializing, maybe this fall or soon. We'll be able to have barbecues again, right? When you're at the barbecue, have a tough conversation.
Yeah.
Why not? You know, and I think it's got to be real for us. I mean, the Pope says things, right? The Catholic faith, we do have institutions, right? And we do have a lobbying arm even. So, I mean, that's one way to engage in the literal political sense.
Yeah, the Minnesota Catholic Conference, is that
what you mean? So
yeah.
what have they been working on?
Right.
I was actually, as a lobbyist, I was pretty disappointed that it seemed like it was all abortion all the time. Like, wait a minute, there's other injustices going on, especially in Minnesota with housing disparities and education disparities, but the lobbyists never spoke on that. Well, I don't want to say that. That's not fair. My perception as a lobbyist, being there every day, is like, my team over here are the people that kind of represent the faith that I follow. They're not really speaking on any, they're kind of narrow in what they're focusing on in their lobbying efforts. So
right.
That's a way to kind of examine, okay, what have y'all been working on? What's the agenda for next session? And if you see something that maybe suggest a different path. So,
sure.
I guess the answer is it's interpersonal, and when it comes to the established mechanisms, delve into those, see what they've done, see where they're professing where they're going to go, and if you don't like that, if you want to tweak it, get involved, get engaged in that. So everybody's going to have their own little job to do, but everybody's little job is the most important job.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's hard not to get political, isn't it, in these conversations either? But yeah, I think that's exactly right. I'll just go to the next question here. We got from Margaret. I wonder if you could speak to the unique challenges faced by Black women, including maternal and fetal mortality rates via birth complications and abortions, and how Catholic people can minister to this particular intersection of our people.
Yeah. See, I think my mom and my sister and
right.
My 1-year-old daughter, I'm really not qualified to talk about that.
I think what's surrounding all of this.
Go ahead, Enzo. I think I know.
I think we might be going the same way though. It's like, again, it's a question of understanding your faith, which inherently will affect how you live and how you love and how you are involved in the community, right?
Exactly.
I mean, principles like the principle of subsidiarity, being at the local level, reaching out, being there for one another, I think though that question does bring up something that is very relevant here. I mean, it's part of the reason why, we're so grateful to you, Ryan, for taking the time to do this. But if you can give your experience, how can I say this? Like, how about this? I'll put it this way. Being the issue between Black people, especially Black men, and, that can be extended to minorities, I think, in some way, and the police. Like, so that whole issue, that's one of those issues, right, that are, right, again, these categories are sort of given to us, but our white Catholic brothers and sisters, friends, they might not understand what that difficulty is. Are you able to speak to that at all?
That's history. That's just that's culture. That's the system. There's
on a personal level. Is that something that you struggle with? Like if you see a cop,
Oh yeah, you never know. So of my interactions, I've maybe gone, I'll go 50-50. You know, half have been good, half have been bad. My son's teddy bear, a cop gave it to him after he pulled me over. Because I had just got his ultrasound and I was speeding through Hopkins all excited. I think I was talking to my dad on the phone and like the speed limit shifted. So I went from like a 50, I think it was the Hopkins Boulevard or whatever that is, and then you go into the town. So I'm going like 25 over, like in town. And the guy pulls me over pissed. Like, what are you doing driving so fast in town? Like, oh crap, I just kind of zoned out. And I was like, you know what, man, let me show you something. And because I had the ultrasound picture on the seat to the side of me. Looking back, like that could have been Philando. He could have been screaming, don't move, don't reach for anything. You know, it's like, I'm just showing you an ultrasound picture. Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
I don't think that way, you know, because I lead with Catholicism, but yeah, I'd forgotten my blackness then, which could have killed me, you know. Luckily it didn't. I was very slow and deliberate. It's like, hey, I want to show you something. It's right here. I didn't move my hands. Said, okay, go ahead. I showed him the picture. I go, man, I just got told I was having a son. He's healthy. It'll be a boy. And then he went to the car for what seemed like forever, and came back with the teddy bear. And he goes, you know what, man? I got to write you up for the seatbelt, because that's only $100. The traffic ticket would have been like, you know, several hundred. You know, he goes, man, just I remember what it's like to be a dad. So that's a positive story. A couple months before that, my wife and I had some friends in town for her 30th birthday. We were out on Washington Avenue downtown. We had rented a party bus for her, and so the night was over. So we had a cooler with some balloons, leftover cake, presents, like just a pile of junk on the corner of like Washington and some down over in the North Loop. So we're on our Uber or our ride or whatever. And the cops they drive by us, but then they spin around midway on Washington, zoom back around and shine their beams on us. And like, what are you guys doing out here? You know, like questioning us like, hey, we just got done with the party. We're waiting on our ride. What's in that cooler? And then there was some booze in there. Like, we're not out here drinking or anything. Like, but we could barely get our answers out. You know, as soon as we could barely get an answer out, there's another question. The guy, you know, and the guy's kind of, man, is he reaching, like, I swear he's reaching for a gun or something.
Right.
And so again, and then my buddy Keon, he reaches in and just dumps. He goes, man, I'm trying to tell you, we're not doing anything with this booze or any of this stuff. These are party favors, and just dumps out the booze, you know? And then the cops like, yeah, go away. So again, like, not given that benefit of the doubt, like one would think, yeah, of course, it's probably an open container and all that. They wanted to see what was going on, but they didn't give us the benefit of the doubt to establish what was actually going on and then just move on. You know, it was just some aggressive show of power, you know,
right?
Because there's a black man, 2 black men and a white woman there. I don't know. So then there's other ones.
But that's the question, though, isn't it? Is
over the course of 40 years, you know, that's what I'm saying. But that's the fear, man, that we're all sick of. It's like you never know, you know, and I can't help but believe that. Oh, here's another Melissa story. So we're crossing the Hennepin Bridge. She's driving, and we cross over from Minneapolis in the Northeast, and the cops pull us over. And then Melissa's like, why did you pull me over? She goes, and the guy was like, you ran that red light. And Melissa goes, no, I didn't. So I'm like mortified in my seat when she says that. Like, literally thinking, I'm gonna get lit up here. You know, like, how could she possibly talk? What is she doing talking to a cop like that?
Right.
But she was in the right. She didn't run the light. I don't know. They had no reason whatsoever to pull us over. So they asked me for I don't even know if they even asked Melissa for ID. Asked me, I'm in the passenger seat, right? Slumped over in fear. And then the guy comes over, bangs on my window, give me your ID, goes back, I guess runs a check on it for warrants or something, comes back, says, all right, you guys can go. What was that all about?
Right.
You know? So,
yeah, I think but
that was an instance, I think, of privilege. You know, if that had been me saying, I would have been dead right now, man. You can't sit there and yell at these cops. But how I'm talking. Look, the training and conditioning of how to always subdue myself to these people just for the slightest thing when I've done nothing wrong.
Right.
But even then, Mr. Floyd, he was subdued, you know? Yeah. And people were screaming, just give up, man, quit resisting. And Mr. Floyd said, I will. They were like, just get in the car. He goes, I will. They won't let me. I can't. You know, They wouldn't let him submit. They were like, it was just, I guess the bloodlust had gotten so hot in them at that point, they couldn't stop. But Yeah, man. It's you never know what you're gonna get as a person of color. It's a dice roll, and it shouldn't be like that. Like
Yeah, no.
the simple request that we're asking. The law should be no different or less for us. It should be fair.
Right, and that's in large part what this is all about, isn't it? And I can't be for those stories. I'm so grateful that you share those with us because I think that any Catholic knows, especially those who are interested in evangelization, the testimony of someone is it's something that really moves people and impacts people, and it's very easy to remove oneself from the emotion and from the sympathy you can have from someone's experience. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So those sort of stories, I think, give a lot of, context, obviously.
But again,
Happening.
so the Good Samaritan story. Where in that story was the victim even questioned about? Well, what you must have done something to piss those highwaymen off, you know?
Right.
The good man stopped and helped him, but without question.
Without question, yeah. What did you do? He doesn't say any of that. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I can relate to that.
I'm asking my brothers and sisters who have heard that story, probably going on 100 times in our lives.
Right.
Man, we're on the side of the road here, beat up. Come help us out, and it'd be nice if we just didn't question how we got,
right.
in the state. Like something pretty bad had to happen for us to be over here.
Right.
Side of the road as we are.
I have a question from Susan. She says, Mr. Hamilton, have you experienced discrimination in the Catholic Church?
No, I can't say that. Not that I can remember, to be honest. I've lived in several different cities, and I like to try different churches, especially old ones and historic looking ones. So, there's been times where I was the only person of color maybe in that mass, and people kind of looked at me as an oddity maybe, but it wasn't. I think it's just they're like curious, I think it was gentle curiosity, and maybe even happiness that somebody somebody looks a little bit different showed up, and they discovered them. So I can't say that I have, to be honest. No, even at school, even in Catholic school, I was always in trouble. But there was one teacher that was kind of a knucklehead, I think, but I was treated like everybody else. And again, I think that's what it's formulated. The church always being my refuge in all this.
Yeah. Yeah, I really have to say I totally relate to that because myself, I'm Sicilian on my father's side, and then my mother is Lebanese, but she grew up in Venezuela, and she's the oldest of 13, and all her family's in Venezuela. So those are three really strong cultures that were very present in my life. And I didn't really, I have these issues with identity until I really embraced my faith. It was only when I really looked into what it means to be Catholic that I could kind of understand who I am in this world. You know what I mean?
And now, along those lines, though, I do want to put this out there. That's on Sundays. I don't know how those society majority Catholics are behaving Monday through Saturday. And so that's what I kind of invite people to reflect on. Just because
we may have lost Ryan.
You got me?
Oh, I think we lost you for a second there. Can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, I'm just saying, just because somebody didn't discriminate against Ryan on Sunday, I don't know how they're behaving Monday through Saturday. So I'm just inviting them to maybe reflect, and do an examination of conscience of have they been discriminatory towards other people of color in their lives outside of the church, right?
Sure.
And if they have, go to confession, say your act of contrition, or act of contrition is for our sins, what we've done and what we failed to do. Where have they maybe Monday through Saturday turned a blind eye to something that maybe that they've witnessed that kind of made them feel icky, but it would have made them uncomfortable to step in to help the Samaritan. So they kept moving, what they failed to do, right, for the least of theirs. So examine your conscience in that regard. Because again, because I'm not accusing or bringing it, attack. I'm trying to get people to lead with their Catholicism or with their faith and spirituality in their lives, right? Not just Sundays, Monday through Sunday.
Right. From Anne, she says, many of us want to educate ourselves and be better Catholics. do you have a starting point for us?
I started just actually listening in mass, just the readings, you know. So I brought my lecture book here. It's all in there. Read the New Testament. Listen to the readings in church. Find a good church with a good homilist. Listen to the homilies. So the second reading for this Sunday is the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, mend your ways, encourage one another, agree with one another, live in peace, and the love of God and peace will be with you. Greet one another with a holy kiss. All the holy ones greet you. Wow. That's the June 7 reading.
Right.
I think that's pretty freaking poignant. You know?
Yeah, sure.
There's magic in our readings. Now, how many times over the years so I guess we're all on the rotation, right? So
Yeah.
Before, and then just sat there, like, just get to the part, you know, just kind of been in mass as a robot and just blown over. So let the words start by actually going to mass and paying attention to the readings.
Right. Let it move you.
Let those stories, because they're told as stories too, especially the Gospels.
Right.
Let it seep in. That'll feed your spirit. Put some gas in that tank, and then we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, man. I agree. Got a comment here on all the looting and right. I mean, here we are. We're in our Twin Cities. We're watching it right before us. There's so much destruction and
yeah.
I know that there are people who had to leave their areas, minorities. That have to leave their homes because it's burning down, or you know they're in these areas that are burning. They feel unsafe, and the whole world is sort of looking at the cities, wondering what's going on. I don't know what your comments are on that.
Yeah, this is just my own personal opinion, and I live over there or close to it.
Yeah, you're on the north side.
Our commercial district is gone. There's no grocery store. Like, it's literal. But what's going on is actually beautiful, because it's churches and communities turning parking lots into like open markets and open pantries. Because there's it was a food desert to begin with. I don't know what's beyond desert, but there's nothing over there. So especially for those that don't have, and the metro was shut down as well. So
yeah.
I think a lot of the physical destruction was caused by outside agitators. I honestly believe that. I'm not going to pick a side on that. I don't know. But I know a lot of it was of the targeted strategic destruction was outside agitators. Like, I was wondering, like, wait, why are all the auto zones and repair shops and
right?
It's because there's oil in there. They were getting the oil to use as accelerants.
Right, sure. Yeah.
And it's just strategic corporate buildings and the post office and, like, come on, and like charter schools in black neighborhoods. So if you're white man, and why are you torching your kids' charter school?
Right.
You know, some of the destruction doesn't make sense. Now, granted, there are kids, and there's a lot of youth out there too, who were just mad and got caught up in the herd mentality, right?
Right.
But I think the people who threw the first brick, I think they might have been agitators, and then the kids, you know, their youth and the rage kicks in, and you also got to think a lot of people have been out of work from the COVID thing, and kids pent up, and just Target's open, like they're in this society that dangles materialism in front of their face. And there's an iPhone sitting right there.
Right. So you know, there's definitely opportunists who sort of take the moment.
And then there's professional thieves, professional arsonists, real estate interests. I think we're wasting. The destruction's terrible. It was all wrong. I can't defend it. I won't. I understand why, on some level, just the rage,
right,
which is starting to subside. And morph and not think hopefully something meaningful, but that's all I got on that.
I think that's
it gets real conspiracy theory-ish.
Sure, it's in these times it's a I mean, there's so much out there, and we've been through so much, and I think there's all of us are really tired, and
I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it was white nationalists or it was Antifa. What good does that do as a Catholic?
Right. No, it doesn't. We want to see a community flourish.
I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting my time getting into that fight.
Right.
So Oh, we
No,
proved
I agree.
this one guy. What? Okay, what good is that? Am I any closer to heaven because I proved that it was Antifa or versus?
That's right.
No.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Here's a comment here from Megan. How can leading with faith and seeking our own transformation of heart lead us to actively bear the truth of the world rather than be passive with silence? Ooh, wow, deep, Megan. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a trained clergyman. Holy smokes, that's a good.
No, I mean, I think just to comment on that, I think it's fantastic. I mean, Christians are not called to be silent, you know.
Yeah.
Really, silence benefits us in prayer, certainly. But if there's something that we need to speak about and we need to defend, Christians ought to be out there, you know. It's always.
Go ahead, keep going. I'm listening.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, there's not the excuse of violence, is just across the board. I mean, it's not permitted. You know, Christ turned the tables over and by the money changers, right? People were giving that example as kind of an excuse for why there ought to be rioting. The tables were in the temple, you know, like they were, you know, they were, what's the word? Defaming the temple, you know? So I don't know how violence in these cases could be justified.
Yeah, I think, how about this? Maybe our job is to examine why they were looting or why they were rioting, right? Ask that question. Just because they were just being jerks that day, or you know, there's got to be there's a reason for everything, right? So examine into that. Like, why would somebody behave this way? Like, oh, because this, that, and the other, and they keep asking why. You know, and then gather the evidence and kind of think about it for yourself and pray over it.
Right.
Yeah. Again, our kingdom is not of this world.
I think what's helpful there. Oh, go ahead.
What Jesus did politically, it was him versus hypocrisy, and that's what I'm asking folks to do.
Yeah.
There's fact check me. I think there's a bunch of hypocrisy in America. Go fact check me on that.
Yeah, right.
Go fact, and if I'm right, help me lean into that. Like, okay.
No, that's right. And he was very much anti-hypocrisy. I mean,
and that's, I think, all the people of color, that's the rage, was the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point, either, you know, just this farce of us being equal and free, it creates that rage.
Yeah. I would add, you know, just I'll try to be brief with this little story, but, you know, the question being not being passive with silence, but bearing truth. Like, what does that look like? Just a little short story I'd offer for Megan. I was in mass one time at a church that I didn't know everybody in, and I was wearing a keffiyeh, which is it's often associated with the Middle East. It's a little scarf, you know, it was the wintertime. And I was wearing that in mass. It's this scarf that sort of made me look a little more Middle Eastern than I am, I guess. And, you know, I went to mass and then I left. And when I'd returned to that parish later, a friend of mine told me that some lady saw me and thought I was some Arab Muslim going to mass or something like that. You know what I mean? And I sort of laughed it off. I didn't think of it as like, oh, someone's profiling me or something. But I wish that whoever that woman was would have just come up and talked to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, even if I was not Catholic or whatever, come up and say hi and what's up, and, you know, just have a little, you know, talk to me, you know. And I think that's in order to not be silent, just don't be silent. Reach out, talk to people, and to your earlier point, have those uncomfortable conversations. Just do it. Just jump in, you know.
Yeah. Again, it's the whole we're doing for the least. What have you done for the least? And getting out of your comfort zone. Our kingdom is not of this world. Those things just keep coming back to my mind.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm so grateful to you. I mean, it's 8:00 here, and I don't know how many. Do you
have any last questions?
I had a couple here from what was prepared. I'll maybe these would be good for sort of last questions. People were able to enter questions beforehand. I've only just been taking them live right now, but
I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
So I just want to be clear about what I'm inviting people into. Like, this is going to take the rest of our lives. Like, this is not a quick fix. So again, just be willing to engage. Look, yeah, it's going to be the rest of our lives, right? For me, it's just that simple. It's not a quick fix. It's going to take time to do that spiritual reflection and finding your way and what's most appropriate for you. It's not just going to be something you can go and do real quick and it's going to be settled, because this is 100-year-old institutions and 100-year-old hypocrisy and evil that have been festering. So
yeah,
it's laying down your life for your brother. And I'm not saying go out and riot or fight or get into actual war or like that, laying down. Like laying down life in this situation, to me, is laying down your comfort. You know, if you have been comforted by these systems and are in the majority, be willing to lay down that comfort for the lives of your fellow human beings, or at least for me, your fellow Catholic brother. There's millions of Black Catholics.
yeah.
Lay down your comfort, you know, for us, and then we'll see each other in heaven. That's the lay down your life for your brother.
Right. I think that's right. Yeah. Awesome.
And you know, and it's the whole part about, you know, the guy came up to Jesus, like, how do I come? Sell all you have, you know, and then the guy walked away sad. I just always
right. Yeah, the rich young man. Yeah.
It's written in it's like, and he walked away and he was sad, you know, because he had many things. You know, are you walking away sad because you have many things, you have many privileges, and like, I can't give that up for, you know, for some people I don't know, and you know, that's some city issues, and if something happens, I'll do right, but let's let it see what happens.
Right.
Engage, but pray and engage in your own way. That's the part I absolutely can't answer for you, and that's where the prayer comes in.
Well, speaking of prayer, just here a last comment from Kat, who had asked a question earlier. I think she says, I do pray and I do the rosary every night and attend mass when I can, more than just Sunday masses, putting armor on as much as I can and as often as I can. Thank you. God bless you and your family, she says. And with that, I'd ask
you,
maybe Ryan, why don't you close us in prayer? And yeah, grateful to everyone who joined us for this.
You know, I will keep, in honor of Mr. Floyd and Philando and all I think the list is approaching 100, like in my lifetime, of Black men, maybe not 100, 50, which is 50 too many. You know, as a Black man, you know, the mother is a staple in the Black community. And so in prayer, I'd want to implore Mother Mary, right? Even Jesus kind of did that as he gazed down upon his mother on the cross, you know? Jesus' mother was obviously a huge part of his life. So, and as Mr. Floyd cried out for his mother, and it was alluded to today at the services for Mr. Floyd today, that when he cried out for mother, it was not out of pain or weakness. It was maybe that was his dying moment. He kind of saw his mother had already been dead. You know, why are you crying out for someone like the Lord was? Look, he's crying out to Elijah. You know, why is he crying out to a mother that's been long gone? And maybe that was his moment of passing, and he saw her welcoming him in. So I appreciate you creating this space for me personally to kind of process these things and speak to my Catholic brothers and sisters and invite them into this new life, this recreation and restoration of this great land that we've been blessed with.
Yeah.
And in that, I'd like to pray, Hail Mary,
Sure.
full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Ryan, so grateful to you. Thanks for taking the time. I know you've had a really busy day, and I know, you know, this all, you know, with everything going on, so grateful to you for taking the time to be vulnerable, to share your story. Maybe we'll do this again. Make sure you tell Melissa, your wife, thank you, and your children as well, Augustine and Sophia, Elise. And really so grateful for this. I you know, pray God this is fruitful and pleasing to God. So.
All right, everybody stop by Lourdes a Sunday or two and check us out.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
We've got some great homilists over there, you know. So, all right, take care, folks. God bless everyone. Thank you all.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for being patient with us while we try to figure all this out. You know, we're new with these live broadcasts. We're trying to get better at them. If you enjoyed it, please let us know. That way we know we can do more of these things, and people are watching, and please share it with other people if you think there was something there that someone ought to see. These are just conversations between two Christian brothers. We want to be able to be able to think through these things. Our God gave us the means by which we can discern and think and distinguish and live out our faith in the world. And this is a means by which we can do that. Again, I can't thank Ryan enough for taking the time to be able to address all these issues. And again, we want to surround this whole experience that we Minneapolitans and St. Paulites and everybody in Minnesota and everybody around the nation is going through right now. So please stay in prayer and stay tuned here to the Archdiocesan Facebook page and YouTube page for more great conversations. God bless.